Saturday. It is sunny, not terribly warm, which is good, low humidity. I'm doing an FTP test today. If you guys remember, the last time I did an FTP test outside was back in high end on a fairly inclined surface. And today I'll be doing it out here in the flats of southern Mississippi. As you guys know, it makes a pretty big difference. So we'll see. I can typically maintain power fairly well out here. So we'll see how it goes today. That was not, however, my last FTP test. Last time in high end. I've done an FTP test since then on the indoor trainer. Just for some reference, when I'm doing my intervals inside, my whoop score was very low. I believe it was 22%. Life choices, finishing a PhD and working full time, it's kind of hard. So, I don't need to tell you guys that. What I'm looking for here is really just a good 20-minute chunk of exercise that is at my limit. Really, I'm trying to push 100% here. There are things that affect FTP tests. Things like going on level ground versus an incline. It could be things like temperature, humidity, also stress. They can also be things like training adaptation, where you're at, how much training stress you put your body under, and if you are well rested. We always like to say to give yourself about 48 hours. It's okay if you go out, 24 hours before and do something like very light, like zone 1, but not doing like back-to-back days, and not trying to do an FTP test. And that's a 20-minute test, a 30-minute test, an hour test, or even the rep test. Trying to be well rested before you do those is really what you're trying to do. Okay? See how much I suffer. You might see me cry a little bit. You might see some snot. Hopefully not vomit. I hate to puke, so. I typically don't push myself to that limit, but sometimes I do. I've never done an FTP test though. I've never pushed myself to puking in an FTP test. That'd be a new high, or maybe a new low, I guess. We'll see. Unlike that FTP test that I did the last day in December, I do have some vested interest, if you will, in shooting for a number here. I would really like to have an FTP above 300 at this moment. I have done a decent amount, large amounts of base training, so I don't have a lot of kick right now, but I should be able to maintain 20 minutes of pretty high power. Obviously, an FTP test is not everything when it comes to cycling, but I am shooting for 300 watts, not for 20 minutes. I'm shooting for 300 watts after I times that or subtract the 5%, times it by 0.95 or subtract that 5%. I should be somewhere in that 320 range as a 20-minute average. I hope. That'd be huge. I'd like that. But we'll see. Before heading out to where I will do the FTP test. It's a long straight road. It does have more traffic on it, but there's no stop signs, with the exception of one, and I think I barely catch it like at the very end. And I kind of roll through that stop sign. So It is a decent place. I could go out further and not get that stop sign, but then I have a little bit more of a downhill straight. That doesn't help me with creating power, so that's why I don't. Right now, going out to that area, I'll do a couple warm-ups, just like 2-minute burns at high FTP intensity. First one will be just below. And the second one will be at my FTP intensity from last time. So one thing I didn't mention earlier, I did weigh myself this morning. It was a little bit heavier than usual, not by much. 76 kilos. I'm typically like, wake up in the morning right around about 74 and a half to 75 and a half. Did go out and had some wings last night with a beer, so indulged myself. I didn't actually feel that good. Probably not the best pre-FTP food. So, yeah. You put on some music, give me a little bit of motivation, and now I can feel that crossfit. So, good, and it's a little bit in my face, so I think we'll be all right. We're gonna go here in just a bit, just over the bridge, and we'll start the test. Wish me luck. Here we go. Ugh. Ouch. Oh. Oh. All right, not terrible. I'm alive. Last like 4 minutes, I was all over the road. It does get a little bumpy, but I was all over the road because I was in the hurt locker for sure. Not so much at 4 minutes, but I can feel it coming on. Might have overspent myself in the first 10, but I think I held on to it. Okay. I did look at my lap times every 5 minutes. I just said don't let it fall below 3:15. And really, at the end I was saying 3:20, so maybe you heard me in the video. When I'd switch down, when I'd switch up a gear, I'd say no and I would shift back down into the bigger gear. Smaller ring to push more power. I have this brain thing. I just shift when I want it to be easier. And I think a lot of us in cycling probably do that. We just look for that easier gear when we could probably push through that. So I've been making it a habit of telling myself, like consciously, know when you're shifting. It's a multiplication force times velocity. And yeah, it's great to have a lot of power, but we also have to maintain fairly high, the velocity being the RPMs. So RPMs of our pedals, revolutions of our pedals, times the force. And then that's really the calculation of power, but it's not quite as simple as that, but that's what it is. So if I can stay in that higher gear and keep pushing that same revolution, great, keep it going. But if I shift down one and keep that same revolution, I obviously lose power. So mentally telling myself when and why I'm shifting. That hurt. Okay. Whew. I don't know how many times I've came to downtown Hattiesburg, and this is what happens. A train. This is gonna take forever because it just started and it's going at like 5 miles an hour. Yeah, we know. Yeah, it was good. Good thing I'm done with the FTP, right?